So I'll be honest, I was one of the kind of like early readers of the Twilight craze. I distinctly remember going to a bookstore, seeing it, buying it, and both being ashamed of reading it and really enjoying it. You know, around that time I was really into Underworld, I was really into Queen of the Damned, the vampire thing kind of had me. It definitely had me. So while it certainly wasn't one of my favorite things, I was pretty into that first Twilight book. And then I even enjoyed New Moon. For some reason, I actually dug the Forlorn Month Lost, Love Lost. I really sympathized with that because I had lost the first love of my life after a beautiful 3-month relationship at the time. So I was really on board with the Twilight at the time. However, there is no denying the fact that Twilight is not good. And its legacy is even worse considering it spawned off the terrible, terrible Twilight fanfiction that was somehow completely adapted to be its own franchise in the 50 Shades series, which I have not really consumed, really don't want to consume, was half considering watching the first movie and reacting to it for a YouTube video. Obviously, there'd be a lot of cutting to try to avoid some copyright stuff, but that is Twilight's legacy, and there's no denying it. The legacy that Twilight has left in the world is that it has inspired someone to make the worst fan fiction in the world that was then someone then decided was good enough to turn into its own franchise. And I remember that every time a new Twilight book came out, they progressively got worse and worse and worse until Breaking Dawn came out, and this was essentially my reaction to reading Breaking Dawn.
What the fuck?
I remember being mad. Like, I was all Team Edward. That book, I was finally like, Team Jacob. He's the only person who has any sense this entire book. And then this happened.
Nope, I'm done.
I don't care if it's just one of these, like, it's not sexual until she's old enough for it to be sexual. That's called grooming. Oh God, we're getting into it. But every once in a while, I will feel the urge to watch, like, the first couple Twilight movies, and I'll just kind of put them on while I'm doing other things. And sometimes I'll even feel the urge to read the first book, which is tucked deep in the closet at in my childhood home, in my bedroom at my parents' place, which is like 2 hours away. So sometimes I just have to make do with watching some of the movies and its glorious, glorious blue wash. So much blue. But recently, I felt the need to rewatch Twilight again. Like a few weeks ago, they're all on Netflix. So I was editing, and I was like, okay, while I'm editing, I'm gonna take a break from my like 87th rewatch of The Office, and I'm just gonna put on Twilight. And then I put on New Moon. And then the next day I put on Eclipse. And then I put on Breaking Dawn Part 1. And then I put on Breaking Dawn Part 2. And it was horribly fantastic because those movies are terrible, but they can be so incredibly entertaining to watch because, like, nobody is happy to be in those movies. There was like a handful of actors that were like, yes, I'm so happy I'm here. And then you have Robert Pattinson, who just struggled his way through years of interviews trying to pretend that he didn't hate the character that he brought on screen, but mostly just didn't care because he knew they couldn't really fire him. He's Edward Cullen. He's the second most important person in that movie franchise, and to many of the females, the most important character in that franchise. But like once Twilight was done,
There's the Twilight fans out there just cannot wait to see this. It's very almost heartbreaking because they don't want it to be over.
Yeah.
It's a little bittersweet, isn't it?
For them.
Yeah.
So while most of the characters did really well with what they were given and how much they were having, like, I'm fine with Kristen Stewart, but like some of those performances, that ruined her. You know, there's literal scenes that are just like, she's literally like collapsing on herself and just like I can't even really fully mimic it. And that's just, I don't think that's her fault. And now I knew that the Breaking Dawn movies were bad and I hated the book. I watched the movies at least once through, and this would have been the first time that I rewatched either of the Breaking Dawn movies. And I wasn't like super paying attention. I was doing other stuff. But I got to the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2, and then these end credits start. And they are wild. They, for some reason, go through every single character that has ever been in the Twilight series, from like less important to most important. And there are a bunch of pointless characters in Breaking Dawn that don't even have speaking roles, that don't even matter. It would be like if the Harry Potter movies had gone through every Hogwarts student at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2. So I'm watching this and I'm watching all these random ass characters and I'm like, okay, are they just going through every character that was in this movie? They go through that weird maid that's at the house after like Bella gets vampire pregnated and is dying essentially, and like basically the only thing this maid says is like, wealthy. That was the extent of that conversation essentially. And she got her nice little montage moment. And then the song playing behind it is just this very like made for Twilight young adult song. And it's just going through all these characters in this crazy ass montage as if these people have changed the course of history in some way. And I get that to some of you, Twilight might have changed your course of history, but let's not pretend that this is like Harry Potter. Like there was ways that you could have done this cool, but you chose to just put every single character and it's just going through everyone. Super cheesy. And then it finally gets to like the main cast of characters. And I'm sure on the opening night of Breaking Dawn Part 2, there were people in the audience just clapping, being like, yes! Yes, Robert! I'm sure they were there. And I pointed this out on Twitter, and I was just basically asking why they felt so self-important that they could actually justify doing this. Can someone please explain to me why the creators of Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 thought that they were important enough to include a montage of every character that's been in every movie since the start of the series looking like a telenovela? Because that's what it looked like, a telenovela. It basically played out like the introduction to a soap opera, perhaps even specifically a Spanish soap opera. It looked like the kind of thing that someone in the middle of the day would be like, I can't quite go down with you, Karen, because I need to watch my programs. And for the most part, people agreed with me, but some people were like, it was epic, it was fantastic, I loved it. And I'm like, this is the cheesiest shit. Like, even if Harry Potter had done this, I would have been upset. Like, the MCU might be able to get away with doing it for characters that end up dying completely in Endgame, but I'm sure they're going to do it, and if they did do it, they would do it in a significantly cooler way than this. And people are like, well, I wish they had done it in Harry Potter. And I'm like, it might have been cool if they had done it properly, but are they going to go through like literally every single side character that has ever been in Harry Potter? Are you going to go through like every different director's iteration of what Tom the Innkeeper looked like? Because you're going to have this one from the first movie and this one from the third movie. What the fuck is wrong with you, Alfonso? Aesthetically, very pleasing film for the most part, but why did you do weird shit like this and cut out who the Marauders were? Anyways, we're not talking about Harry Potter. We were talking about Twilight for some reason. But my God, my funniest reaction to this was that I basically screenshotted the thing from Twitter, put it on Instagram, and I noticed that in the course of like 2 hours, this person had followed my account, sent me this message. Hey, I just wanted to say that I'm somewhat of a fan. I recently watched a few of your videos, and I have to say that you make some mildly adequate content, and I'd love to get to know you and even form a friendship with you if you'd like that. What kind of freaking backwards neg is that? What are you doing? That's weird. And then literally within like 2 hours of getting that message and me posting the Breaking Dawn thing, they say, because they felt like it, why not? Freaking idiot, don't know stuff. And then they unfollowed me. I guess my mildly adequate content saved me right up into the point that I criticized the film classic Breaking Dawn Part 2. And then obviously when looking at the video where I went to find the montage to share with people how ridiculous and over the top it was, there's so many people being like, I love this. Why don't more movies do this? Because most movies don't think they're so self-important that they need to go through a montage of every freaking side character that's ever been in a franchise. Star Wars has not done it. Lord of the Rings has not done it. Harry Potter has not done it. It was like a stage play. But in my time rewatching these movies, other than realizing that, you know, the cast really don't want to be there and they're just doing the best they can with what they have, there is one shining star that stands out from the rest, and that is Bella's dad, Charlie, played by Billy Burke. And there's a couple of different levels that make Charlie just a cut above the rest. So for one, if we're taking it from a purely acting standpoint, this whole movie is people talking about how much they love the other person, but half the time it looks like they want to kill them and eat them and all this other, like, and that's actually what is happening. And it's that very like shallow, fake version of love that like teenagers love so much, because it's just this like undying, instant, I love you for the rest of my life expressed appreciation and love that is not really real. It's not based in reality. Like teenagers love that shit. When you actually break it down, there's so much abusive stuff going on in the Twilight relationship universe, and that only gets worse in the things like 50 Shades of Grey. But people love it. But when you actually look at how like Charlie reacts to Bella and like the things that he does and the really subtle things, like that is like a genuine, like loving father relationship of like a dad who doesn't necessarily know completely what he's doing, but he's just trying really hard to do the best he can for his daughter that he's never really had the chance to properly connect with. And just some of like the really hilarious, just the little hilarious moments where he's like, I don't know what I'm doing in Twilight, but I'm here for the ride.
All right. Bring him in.
Could you be nice? He's important.
Hey. Still got that pepper spray?
Yeah, Dad.
You know, Edward could at least respect mealtimes.
This man is building the mountains out of the molehills, but in a good way, not in like the over-exaggerating way. He is like, here is the molehill that you have been given to work with, and here is the mountain of the performance that you have created out of it, Billy frickin' Burke. So basically what I'm saying is that Billy Burke deserves an Oscar for his performance in Twilight for being better than everybody else and just really, really having fun with the insanity that he has to deal with. You have earned your montage moment. I think that Breaking Dawn is probably one of the worst pieces of literature that's ever been put to paper, that has gotten such widespread popularity, if I'm being completely honest. But let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. Do you think that Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 was worthy of having a telenovela montage ending? Do you think it was over the top? Do you think more people should do it? Do you think that they could have done it in a different way? Do you agree that Billy Burke is a hero? Do you love the fact that the Twilight cast is so exasperated in their performances, and the fact that, you know, Robert Pattinson realizes that his character is a psychotic stalker and that there's a lot of problems with the behavior here? Do you agree? Perhaps we'll look at that next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you all later.